So we all know what a city looks like when it's been overcome by automotive motion and doesn't attract people anymore. This is Davenport, Iowa, where we're turning these one-way streets back into two-way and adding more parking so that people will be more comfortable on them. And we know what the suburbs look like when the automobile has been allowed to take over. But we also know what cities look like when pedestrian, bikes, transit, and cars are all put on an equal footing. Portland, I'm going to be showing you a number of Portland images. And then we know what new suburbs look like. This is Kentland's, a project I worked on outside of Washington. We know what new suburbs look like that also have that capacity for kids to walk to school, parents to walk to the store, people to walk to work, shopping, and everything that you might want in your community. So finally, I was asked to talk about planning for vitality and for the future success of this area. And I have to say that I like talking about this because it's kind of a new line of work for me. But your chamber and Brian's foundation have been talking to a woman named Carol Coletta. And Carol runs CEOs for Cities. She's brought into cities by foundations and by wealthy individuals and by universities and the cities themselves. The cities say, we want to be competitive. We want to attract talent. We want to attract young talent. They also, in the case of Grand Rapids, where she's brought me in, they say, Grand Rapids, it's the Amway fortune. So you have two families that are both multi-billionaires. And they just say, we want our kids to stay. We want our grandkids to stay here. We want to be that kind of city. But from the city leadership point of view, it's we want to be competitive. And most importantly, we want to attract millennials. Now, millennials refers to a very specific generation, but what we're really talking about when we say millennials, in this case, is people in their 20s and 30s. Every significant invention that you can name in this century was invented by someone under 30 years old. Millennials are the engines of entrepreneurship in your community, and 80% of millennials decide first where they want to live, and they move there, and then they look for a job. So this is a cohort, unlike any before them, who think about place first and the quality of that place. So the question is, and I was so thrilled walking around and seeing places like Northern Massachusetts Avenue, that you are creating the sort of places that do attract these millennials. You could work harder at it. So how do you attract young talent? Young people want lifestyle choice, not just suburban. This is a great model. This is a great new suburb, a neighborhood-based suburb with the community garden, and that's one model that you might want. But most younger people prefer Times Square. They want something more like that. Access to nature is very important, and I was thrilled to hear about how your trail system is all interconnecting, and you can actually get on a bike in the city and bike all the way out into your regional trail system without having to put it on the top of a car. And that's fantastic, but it's very important. That's why cities like Minneapolis are doing so well. And forgive the PowerPoint translation. Alternatives to driving. One of those, of course, is transit. Transit in D.C. is why I'm able, with my wife and baby, to live without a car. Life is pretty easy without one. I already showed you Portland. Many, many cities are investing in transit, and they're reaping the rewards very quickly. All of these new systems, like here in Denver, outpace estimates for ridership. The citizens love to vote to support them. I understand here you have a problem electing to support transit without the state changing the way they do their business, and that's a real challenge, and I hope someone who knows more about it will address that. But then Pasadena, transit and transit-oriented development, right? New buildings around transit stops. And then maybe something that's more, that you can relate to better, is Minneapolis. And Minneapolis has an extremely successful transit line, new, that's receiving much more ridership than anticipated. And millennials do not want the obligation to own a car. And then biking is so big with these folks. I feel kind of out of it biking at 46, but the people I know who are in their 20s and 30s, they prefer bikes as the way to get around. New York City, in 1 year, by making a dedicated effort to improving bike facilities like this one, in 1 year, the amount of biking increased by 35%. Amazing. And over a decade, they had 100% mode shift, 100% increase in the mode allocation for biking. And then Portland, where people are it's like a different type of human that lives in Portland, from what I can tell. But what you have in Portland has been a long-time dedication to providing bicycle facilities. So I'm working with the team Nelson Nygaard. They're specialists in intermodal transportation and bringing biking to communities. And they're showing these slides at their talk in Davenport, Iowa. And I say, what, was this bike to work day? Or was this you out with your biking community? I say, no, this is just a normal day standing with a camera in Portland of people biking. So these are what people, if you provide it, it's not a chicken and egg. If you provide bike facilities, you will create a biking culture. And I see very few bike lanes in Indianapolis. And then finally, my specialty, street life and walkability. And when I come to cities and I do studies, what I focus on is creating this sort of atmosphere where you have the liveliness, and particularly picking the places where people do already walk or almost walk, enhancing those places. And your downtown is working great. Your North Massachusetts Avenue is becoming great. But often what's missing are the proper links between those places. And whenever you connect walkability to walkability, you multiply the number of walkers. And that's the sort of effort that we've been putting into a lot of cities. And I would love to, I'm running out of time, but I'd love to talk to you about that some more, perhaps in the panel discussion we have later. So in conclusion, we're having a book signing later, 5:30 in the lobby, and I'd love the opportunity to talk to more of you about these issues. But I'm really grateful for your time. I'm happy to speak to people individually by email if you want to send me a message. This is not a small crowd, but it's small enough that I can put this up on the wall. And I think you guys have come a long way, certainly from the 80s when I was last here. You should know that your reputation, at least in planning circles, reflects that. And I think that the next level in terms of making that reputation a place, something that draws people here who aren't just planners who want to study your canal or your cultural trail, but people who want to move here for the quality of life. That next level is going to be focused on your walkability, your organizing development around transit, and your commitment to transit in this community. So thank you for your attention.